Hi, I'm Susan Gardner from Municipal World. I'm at the 2018 Municipal Innovators Conference in Calgary, and joining me in our media center here at the conference is Marc He from City of San Francisco. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Hi, thanks for having me here.
Thank you for coming. Tell us a little bit about what it is you do.
Right, so I'm the director of the Innovation Office at the San Francisco Human Services Agency. And this agency takes the lead to help San Franciscans who are experiencing poverty and abuse. So we serve about 1 in 4 San Franciscans, and we have over 2,400 dedicated public servants that are helping them.
How did you come to be here in Calgary talking about hacking public services?
Right. So the people on the conference organizing committee, some folks said, hey, there's this conference, you might be interested in it. And I was out in Canada last year at Durham and was just really impressed with the people and the programs. They had organized a annual sort of innovation conference internally, and the projects and ideas that they were putting forth were inspiring. So I took some stuff back home, and then when I heard about this, I thought, wow, I can meet many people from across Canada who are doing this kind of work.
Right.
The session that I had proposed was around how can we make our bureaucracies better? How can we hack the system? And a book that's been shaping my thinking recently is called A Beautiful Constraint. So I took some concepts from the book, shared it out with the group, and the purpose of this particular session was called a cafe. The conference organizers really wanted to facilitate conversation and discussion. So it was really me talking for about 10 minutes and then turn it over to everybody else to say, hey, what are your thoughts? How are you trying to hack the system? How are you trying, not hack in a negative way, but
Absolutely.
how to make it better?
Right.
And what sort of things are working for you and what isn't? And people they jump right in.
So what were some of the takeaways from the session insights that you were able to get today?
Yeah, I think the first insight is that irrespective of where we are within the public sector, there are shared experiences. There are shared experiences that there's a sense of fear in terms of making mistakes. There are shared experiences around a dedication to a mission that we have and saying, it's hard, but we still want to persevere. We still think that we can create the change. And this is where we want to be. It was also interesting to hear people thinking about the role of technology and how in some spaces it might be more conducive to use a technological solution, and in other spaces it's really not appropriate. So I think being context dependent, that was also, I think, an important sort of part of that conversation. One kind of concept that we had talked about is something called equity-centered design. And the great folks out at Stanford University D School or the Institute for Design have done a really incredible job of championing and encouraging people in all disciplines and fields. But they're doing a good job within the public sector about encouraging how do we understand the needs of the people that we're serving, as well as employees, and then what does it mean to go about designing services around these needs. So they have partnered with various organizations over the past several years to say, now let's go deeper into this, and then particularly in the education field, that when we are thinking about designing a service and how these services then affect the larger system, how can we do this in an equitable way? And some very simple in words but difficult in task approach is to say, okay, what does it mean that when we actually pause and reflect on our privilege, our positionality, our power, our biases, and our assumptions. And when we pause and reflect and talk about that, we are making conscious design decisions that are trying to be inclusive of different groups, different peoples, different opinions. Somebody had said it best that I remember. There's a difference between being invited to the party and then being asked to dance. And I think that when we think about inclusivity and equity, we have to make sure that we are allowing people who have historically had less power to be in a place to start creating. So what does this look like in our agency? Well, when we partner with other programs, we are asking questions such as, what data do we have about our clientele? We're working with one program right now, and they said, well, actually, our clientele are mostly non-native English speakers. how are we reflecting design decisions about this population that we're serving? Do we have appropriate translation? Are the icons that we're using culturally sensitive and appropriate? These sort of kind of active questions and pausing and reflecting, I think, are important to have. And I feel that the people in the room were engaged with that, and that we were on the same page.
Okay, so really a process of continuing to ask those questions all the time and to develop some awareness around the biases that we may have subconsciously or consciously. We might not be aware of how they're impacting the decisions we make and the services that ultimately are delivered in the community.
Right, and one way to get at that is when we want to quickly sort of prototype some ideas, to create a rough draft of something, and then to put it out there and to get people's responses, right? So I think a level deeper is inviting those people in to help in that creative process.
To help actually design what's going to ultimately be the service at the end.
Whatever that is. And it's very labor intensive. And I understand that you can't do it for all projects necessarily. But where there's opportunities to do that, I think that we should try to take advantage of that.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much for coming in
Thank
to
you.
chat with us. And I hope you enjoyed your time in Calgary at the conference here. And perhaps you'll come back to Canada again to share more of your insights.
I'd like to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Susan Gardner for Municipal World. We share your stories.